All right, are the lawnmowers ready? I'm about to make a video. All right. All right, we're back with our BMW 330e hybrid battery pack. This pack used to have 5 modules in it. I took them out and it's empty right now. I covered it to keep the debris. Why does that word have an S at the end? Debris out of it. Now we're gonna remove the cover and work on the wire harness. See if we can I know it's getting stuck. See if we can control it with the external pigtail plug on here. A little bit more elegant solution. Guys, I'm sorry about the lawnmowers. There is no winning with these guys. I'm outnumbered. Okay, here we go. First we have to remove a couple of these Torxuses. This video brought to you by Cascade, the purple stuff. Remember where I set this down, okay? It's important. Okay, you'll see me jump out behind the camera and back. I always want to make sure you guys have visibility. Okay, so let me show you where the safety box lived inside of this battery pack box. So this is our safety box and it has the BMS in the back. And if I remember correctly, it bolts down like this, okay? So this is where it sits. Okay, that's fine and dandy. So here's our goal. This is what we're trying to do. We need to connect to this white plug, which is one of these here. So this here is, this one's white, this one is gray, this one is black. You know, that lawnmower has a really nice cadence to it. It's almost like Beethoven. Or is it Bach? Okay, so this would plug into here, right? So we need to find out where these wires go, because from what I did my research on the 530e, they won't run down this harness and nicely just go to some pins on here. It gets a bit ugly, and you'll see as I untangle this mess. So then these other wires, there's a black one and this gray one, so they go to the master BMS. We'll leave those alone. We'll plug them in there. Again, we won't be using BMS in phase 1. I think BMS is important, but we just want to get it going. Now we introduce the airplane concerto in E minor. All right, guys, so I brought you in closer so you can see this connector. And the moral of the story is that just because there's, I don't know, let's say 20 pins, doesn't mean they're always used. See how these are stubbed out and they don't even have all the pins in there? So when you first come across a connector, the reaction is to be a bit intimidated, but then we divide and conquer. Okay, about half of these pins get eliminated right off the bat. So can we deal with the rest, right? So when we look at this thing, does anything jump out at you when you look at this pigtail, okay? Anything at all? Are any of the wires different? And I'm not talking about just colors. But remember what we learned in a prior video, that how to identify can, that it's a twisted pair. Look at that. We appear to have two different can channels, if you will, like a maybe can 1, can 2, or maybe this is both on the same can. Who knows? It would be both on the same can if it's the same speed can. That's something we haven't talked about. But the only reason you may need to have can 1 and can 2 is if they run at different speeds. A little bit about this connector. It is keyed, okay? It's difficult to see, but it has these 4 notches. So it will go like this. It will not go on like that. Also, I removed this little snap-a-dooey because it's just easier for me not to look like a complete fool, just a part-time fool on camera. So remember where I put this, okay? It went in the Cascade bucket. Okay, this guy here, I'm guessing this might be the thermal temperature sensor separate doodad, or it may be for the fan. I think this box has some sort of a fan to extract, I don't know, whatever builds up in here, is pressure or what have you. So we'll just leave that alone. But yeah, these are can, and maybe one of these is for the safety box and one of these is for the BMS module. We'll see. We'll follow it out on the other side. But that is the connector. I may have to rob you of the opportunity to look at my ugly mug. What's important is that you see what I'm doing here. Also, feel free to completely doze off during this video, and just, you know, when you come back, you will not have missed a thing. I probably should be wearing gloves right now. I find it difficult to deal with this tape when you have gloves on. The wife hates it, but you know, we're taking one for the team. I always say I'm gonna reuse these. I never do, but I'll save them. Top tip, if you have a really sharp razor blade, you can cut this. I always prefer to just unwrap it. It kind of forces me to really study every inch of this thing and see what's what. And as I say this, I look like a complete fool. What? I found it. After a while, you'll be able to find where the tape ends, okay? And sometimes there's rhyme and reason, sometimes there isn't. Maybe two different techs worked on the same harness, probably not, but whatevs. Okay. So again, what we're trying to see is, are these wires from the safety box, this connector, are these home runs? That's our question. And we have on here 2 red, 1 black, and the twisted pair for CAN bus, just like on our bench wiring harness. Looks like the same thing. And no extra wires on here, nothing to add, so we are happy with that. Look at that. Colors, 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 colors. Note to self, edit that part out. All right, here we go. Fire off some Chuck Norris jokes in the comments, guys, while you watch this. It's kind of cool to see how they do all these kind of Ys and splits. They really do a good job of making sure these things don't get damaged. I mean, it's a pro build, obviously, but I'm just saying. They did contract out for the, hopefully that's not off camera. Let me see if I lift it way sky. Of course it's off camera. So I'm trying to work this so that you guys always see it, right? Sometimes I will lift it out of view. I apologize. Okay, we may get lucky here, and this guy will leave alone. This guy will leave alone, but here you'll see what I'm talking about, the situation. Sometimes you'll get to a point where like, okay, that's enough. I don't have to take all the tape off, but I just do. I don't like surprises. All right, guys, so here we go. We're looking at it. And do you see how our CAN bus, for example, our CAN bus seems to want to run to this plug, okay? It wants to run to this black connector. I'm going to take this off. Okay, and I really don't need to take this off, the rest of the black tape, but I'm going to do it just to demonstrate and be really sure that that's what's happening. All right, so if you guys look, and you know what, I like this kind of stuff. So this is our CAN, this yellow wire, and we'll call the other one purple. So it runs to this black plug. It doesn't run all the way down here to the connector. Can you guys see that, or did I cut it off? Okay, you guys can see that. Okay, so this is an issue for us. We'll have to snip it, and I'll tape off one side and probably extend, well, obviously extend the other side to here. Then let's see what else we have going on. And then we have a black wire. The black wire is our ground. So the black wire runs to this connector as well, okay? I don't know what happens with the black wire later. I think I've played this game before, and I just don't want to be guessing that, okay, it does somehow go through all this and in here. So I'm gonna snip the black one. The red one is running in here, but I don't know, again, what happens with it. So maybe rather than ruining this really nice connection, I may just decide to snip all of these and just call it good. You know, and then I will just pick some wires to tap into here on this side. I'm not sure how much of that I want to, if I want to unwrap any of this stuff. It's really nicely done. I mean, part of using this box is to kind of keep some of the stuff in order. But yeah, this is what I wanted to demonstrate, right? Remember here that it's about I don't know, 8 inches past this black wire. So when we add a wire to it, we'll know. I think that might be the best way to do it, guys. You know, just to cut them and then extend them and not worry about it. But as you can see, and I'm sounding like a broken record, they run to another connector, and then from that other connector, well, yeah, there's CAN, but there's actually just there's this one, and then these aren't connected in the plug. They go into a circuit board, and a bunch of voodoo happens. So it's best just to nip. But this is what I wanted to show you why we have to do this bypass. We're gonna call it a bypass. Okay. All right, guys, we are going to snip these. Now, I want to leave you with the top tip, okay? when it comes to cutting these, if you just cut them right here, and then you extend them, and then you put shrink wrap over this, you're going to have your harness look like an anaconda that swallowed a water buffalo. So what I suggest you do is you stagger these. It doesn't have to be the science of rockets, okay? Just cut these so they are not in the same spot. Okay, so now they're different lengths approximately. Okay, I know two of them kind of turned out almost close, but that's okay. Usually about an inch is fine. And then when they're staggered like this, the lump gets spread across the harness, if you will. I'm just gonna use some black tape here and put little stubbies on them. I don't know if there's a right way to do this or not. It's going to get swallowed by the harness, but I just don't want any electrons falling out, you know what I mean, and creating a mess in this box. Okay, so now we turn our focus to this connector, and what I'm gonna do on it, and I have a couple ideas, and maybe I could leave this one alone and put one in from another box, but then this thing would just dangle in there. We may get lucky, and if we just focus on this corner, the can is right above. This could be our positive. I'm not crazy about this being our ground. Kind of like this wire, it's a little bit heavier gauge, but if you were to look the way this plugs in, we want to get the top two here, so, and sometimes you're kind of forced to cut them if you want more length and not stagger them. Of course, everything I'm suggesting, you know, use common sense. I think I'm going to go as far as I can in here. There it is. So this is going to be our can. And then the red one is obviously going to be our positive. Okay, and I know it's two red into one, but that's fine. That's how we're gonna roll. And what's interesting is that there's a thicker brown wire coming into here. I'm guessing maybe they're running like, are they running like two wires out of one pin? I can't tell. So I may just have to use like this one as the ground, just call it good. and just have all my stuff be in the corner, and I'll live with blue being the ground. Black is ground. Brown I can live with, but blue, come on now. I know you guys may not be able to see well, but okay. So those need to be extenderized to these. Okay guys, so if you know me, you know that I'm a junkie for wire harnesses. And I buy them and then I spend some time and organize them, cut out all the extra wires I didn't need, and also save them for later use. It's worth it. And if you're buying a wiring harness, sometimes you need to justify that expensive purchase. You know, it could be $300, $350, $200. Well, you can salvage other wires. Like these black cables here could serve as your inverter synchronous serial, you know. So there's things in here. So let's see if this was worth it, you know. Let's see if we can find, it's easy to get, you know, something like a red wire. I think this one just got in there, but I bought this. But there's gonna be red wire in here. We're gonna need a black for ground. And more importantly, I want to see if we get lucky and we find a twisted pair to extend our CAN bus. Yay! When I was doing this, I was pretty sure that I had one.
Dame lives of the play, no ordinary dame of the game. And then she was please sir, please sir. Chain link fence, this executioner's in. Can't stare on my face, I need to run for shelter. She found me most inviting diamonds.
Wait a minute. Ha! Got it. That was easy. Yellow and black, twisted pair. Bam. We'll clean that up later. Okay, so here I am just eyeballing. I am going to throw this off before this project is over. I am just eyeballing the length that we need for this. And, something like that. These were cut about even, I think. Okay. Okay, so we are going to strip these, and I'm using the strippers that I mentioned to you guys. Sometimes that piece doesn't fall out. So that's that. These might be a little bit harder in here, but we'll give it a try. We should have just enough room. As I say this, and it's hard because of this guy. Come on, guy. This is not the sanctioned way to do it. But we're gonna do it. One more. peeled good. Oh, great. Hopefully you can see this. Boring as hell, but so I strip like half an inch because then I twist and I solder. These will get soldered. Okay, I think that's all of these. So I finally bought a decent soldering iron. So that's a Weller something something. I graduated to this. Doesn't mean I'm good at soldering. WE1010. Someone recommended something similar, and this is what was available on Amazon at the time. I think his model was already discontinued. Here we go, 718 to Nebraska. So, not all soldering irons are created equal. If you have one of those like pencil types, that's just like a stick with an extension cord, power cord, maybe it just sucks. What I would recommend if you don't have an iron, rather than buying a cheap new one, see what you think of going to a thrift store, a secondhand store, and picking one up. I don't know where my first soldering iron came from, but I had it for like 20 years, and it finally gave up the ghost. And I even learned that it was one of those that you can still maintain and take apart and repair, but I was like, I'm gonna get a new one. I got a brand new, just a stick kind, like a candle with a power cord, and it sucked. So then I spent the money on this, and this gives me no excuse to be terrible, but I'm still terrible. This is a something cutting blade for cutting metal. What is this? Well, it's a speed blade. I don't know what it's made out of, but it doesn't conduct electricity, right? So I can set stuff on here, and sometimes if I'm in the truck soldering on my lap, I'll put this on my lap so I don't burn myself. And it's just a good idea if you have to rest something, so we'll give it a try. I'm welding on camera. I'm out in the field, ladies and gentlemen, so to speak. Soldering iron, soldering wire, I should say. Not all soldering wire was created equal. I know of two kinds, thick kind and thin kind. And for this project, we're gonna be using the medium. So it's going to be solder and then put this heat shrink on. This is a variety pack from Harbor Freight. I am not a big fan of Harbor Freight. I told you I'm going to remove that. I am not a big fan of Harbor Freight, and I'm not a big fan of variety packs. But I was too lazy to research the size I needed. And is it just me, or whenever you guys buy a variety pack, you use up 100% of one size and the rest you don't even touch? And you can use a cigarette lighter, but this is a heat gun that I'm gonna use to shrink the heat shrink. Being outside, there's always wind, there just is. So I've showed you a ton of tools, and I think the smaller the job, the smaller the project, the more tools it requires, right? See if you agree. So just like when doing brake lines, and you always forget to put the fitting on, here, where's my other piece? I think it's Okay, so here we need to make sure you put the heat shrink on first, obviously. I think these two go together. Did I already mess this up? And it's funny because whenever I solder these, somehow I always do it to where they want to unwrap. Like my brain just doesn't comprehend which way to make them go. I think that's going to be fine, maybe. I'm not going to solder on camera. You guys deserve better. So I'll be back after I make a couple connections. Here we are in our outdoors organic soldering station, and I managed to solder the ends towards the connector. And I want to point out that I kind of want to give you a heads up that the two red wires that go into the one red, they can't be staggered. So I staggered them by mistake, and then I cut them to equal length. No big deal, but I'm just admitting my mistake there. And we're going to try to shrink these using a lighter outside. I'm going to show you what happens. Of course, it's probably going to work just fine. Do you see the flame? Do you see how it's sideways? And look, do you see what it's doing because we're outside? So that's what you get with it. That's why we use DeWalter White. So this goes up to 1100. I try to turn them a little bit if I can. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yikes. Yes, I am looking silly. And the mosquito's eating my neck. It's mosquito season, you all. That's great. Oh, it's pretty hot. You get that on your hand, and you notice what time it is. Trying to separate them, so I'm only going on the heat shrink. Yes, this process is much more elegant when I'm not taping. Trust me. But soldered for a good connection and heaty shrunk. Okay, so that's our pigtail. I'm gonna shove it in the box and bring you along, and then we'll measure and make sure everything reaches. Okay, so let us start off by putting the safety box back in. I'm gonna put it back in just to ensure that everything will reach. I call this wax on, wax off. If any of you are old enough to have seen Karate Kid, what's that kid's name? Like something Marciano or something? I just saw on the internet that he's now older than Mr. Miyagi was at the time of the movie, or in the movie. Get in there. want to use an impact on you, but I will. Whoopsie. Okay. This is really nicely color coded. That's really cool. I'm not exactly sure how these went, if this had anything to do with it, but let's see. Did they wrap around this way? Okay. And this is just kind of me being a bit silly, plugging all these in, but does it go in there? What is happening? Okay. And this is the black one. Thinking maybe this is what they were doing, is going like this. Okay. All right, so we're seeing a little bit of the shapeness. Where's ours? Mosquito season. Did we go from this side? Okay. So did these go in here somehow, like that? Give this guy some extra. Give it a little bit extra, and then go like this. Okay, so now and this is a good place to cut them. We're not gonna scatter. What is it? I can't think of the word. Stagger those. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go. This guy is really getting on my nerves. Can you come on? Oh, you can after all that time? Okay, let me solder those on. All right, the soldering is done. Now I'm just going to move the heat shrink over the soldered parts. Obviously, I move it back so that the heat from the soldering doesn't start doing some premature shrinkage. to remember that the black goes to the green on there. Get in on the party. At this point, as tempted as it is to just, loom this all up, I'm going to test it. I think that's the right thing to do. So I just need to bring the Zombie out here, wire it up really quick, and just hope for a click, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna try to turn it around so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay guys, we're gonna test this thing, and I wanna start off by saying that I zip tied all these wires. All these wires are out of the way. All we're concerned is with these 4. So if we did it right, the top is our CAN and the bottom is our power. So red obviously is DC positive, 12 volts, 1 or 2 amp fuse, whatever I had. The blue is our ground. And then this is CAN. Yellow is CAN high, and the bluish purple is CAN low. All right, so we are going to review wiring up the Zombie. I think it's a good opportunity. But before we do that, I always turn on my power supply first just to make sure it's set to the set voltage. I wouldn't want to crank this up to 30. Oops. I wouldn't want to just crank this up, turn it on, and then get in trouble. So, perfect. All right. So we have a black wire here. This still has that white alien funk on it from my Lexus. It's where it went through the firewall. This is from its harness. So make sure if it's closed that the lid is on top. Okay, the lid on top puts the pins in the right orientation. So I believe pin 55 is ground. And we're going to take the ground and the ground from the safety box from our pigtail there. Again, I'm just gonna twist them, twisty-turny them for funsies, and then put the alligator clip on them. That's just gonna hang off of there. All right, next is our positive. That is pin 56. Red wire to the Zombie 56. Okay, so now the Zombie has power. Again, I don't know why I put an alligator clip on here. Made sense at the time. We're going to use our non-conductive plate here. And that's good for now. And then we have pin 15. Pin 15 is up here. Because it goes 1 through 14, 15 to 28, 29 through something, and something through 56. Hopefully I'm doing that right. And this is power as well. So this is fused and this has a switch on it. So we're just going to put these together. Start button is our pink wire. That goes on 52. So 56, 55, 54, 53, 52. Three, 4, 5, 6, okay. And this is 12 volts as well. Okay. It's a little bit busy. Hopefully we got this done right. All we're looking for is a click, man. All we want is a click. Okay. That gives the VCU permanent power. Then we click the ignition switch on. And when I press this button, we should hear the safety box click. Nothing. That's not good. Ah, we forgot our can. Dummy. Phew. All right, as I was saying, it goes can low and then can high. Can low. Can high. I think that's good, so turn this off. Try again. Okay. Zombie has permanent power. We just walked in the garage, sat in the driver's seat, turned the key to on. Now we're gonna turn it to start, and that should click. Yes! It clicks. Let's turn it off. And it clicks when we turn it off. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, guys. Passes the crude test here, but I'm happy with that. Better than nothing. It clicks. Now we're going to undo this mess and go and put some tape on our wires, and then we'll be done. Okay, guys, you know what time it is. It's Tessa tape time, or as I like to call it, clock tape, which I think it is clock tape. So let's see if we can remove this connector. Maybe make it easier for ourselves. I think I'm just gonna loom it independently of all the other jazz. Maybe we'll clean up some of this other jazz first. Do you guys think it's a good sign when a Tessa tape comes out in terms of project timelines? I think that's a good sign. My phone is about to die, of course, right now when the mowers went and stopped. Come on, you. I know there's probably smarter ways to do this. So I wanted to kind of keep it plugged in so I can keep the general shape of it, you know what I'm saying? And we can, come on. Oh, come on, you're making me look bad. Why wouldn't you? Do a little imitation of the factory here by trying to be silly and wind it up more. All right. I like this tape. It's good stuff. All right. That looks decent-ish. Now to do this stuff. Recording, so I'm gonna do this hokey thing where I pull on it. I'm not sure if I'm even in shot right now, but makes it easier for me. Strong to the finish, folks. Strong to the finish. See if I can get away with this kind of stunt. That's good enough for me. So it's gonna run like this, and then I think it drops in there like so. Bam. That works for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was beneficial to you in some way, and I'll catch you in the next one.